bring in the elite Blaine Fowler, dual threat analyst, national champion at BYU. Uncle B is back in studio. Be nice to have you on the show, Blaine.
Good to be here. Did you guys put me low again?
No.
Because I feel like I'm looking up to you guys, and I kind of have an inferiority complex right now.
It doesn't seem like I am looking down on you.
Okay, good, because I'm a little concerned. I'm looking at that shot right there, and I'm like, I might be really, really low today. That's okay, though.
Typically in life, you're looking down on me,
I'm gonna
this.
play up, though, is what I'm gonna do right now.
Okay. Let's just start with our question of the day. What's your biggest unanswered question for BYU football going into the season 3 days away from Arizona?
It's the same thing that I asked at the very beginning of camp, and I'm not sure it's a question I could have had answered in camp, and that is, are they going to be really good in the defensive front four? And I feel good about the four starters. So we had the starters named Kafusi and Pili have both played a lot at the end. You got Kairos on the inside, who he's still got to play himself into a little bit better shape, but I think he will. And then Al-Bakri was a big surprise, but that guy was just relentless. I love his toughness that he'll bring. So I look at those first four, and then I think to myself, you kind of have to have 7 or 8 to be really as good as you want to be. You have to be able to rotate guys through. If you're going to have a consistent pass rush in the second half and be able to stop the run in the second half, you need 7 or 8 guys up front. And so I'm waiting to see. And the reason you don't find that out in camp is because they don't very often let them hit the running backs and actually tackle to the ground and play full go because you don't want to get guys hurt. So we don't know until Saturday night. That's my unanswered question. It was at the beginning of camp. I still don't know. After Saturday night, I think I'll know a little bit better.
Well, who are some of those guys behind the four? I know Devin Kafusi's in the mix.
It's interesting because you take a Kafusi out and you replace him with a Kafusi. Now he's a little bit smaller than Corbin, but I think he can come off the edge. There's talk that Tavita Mongu, who I thought was going to be big, might be redshirting, and so I was looking to him. I mean, these are why I have those questions. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to – they've got 10 or 11 guys they've been rotating through, and we see a depth chart. I'm like, I'm not so sure that is the depth chart. The first four, first of all, have to play unbelievably well. But they have to be able to spell those guys. And so somebody's going to emerge in that second group of 6 or 7 guys. We're going to go, oh, good, thank goodness there is depth there. I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is right now.
You mentioned Bracken Al-Bakri as one of the surprises. Is there anything else that jumped out to you, surprise or not, when BYU released its depth chart heading into this week?
Not anything, because I've been kind of watching it all fall. That was probably the biggest surprise to me, but not a surprise at the point that the depth chart came out. If you would have asked me at the beginning of fall camp, what does the depth chart look like, I would have been very surprised that he would be there. But after watching him in fall camp, I'm not. The other one, if I'd gone back to the beginning, I didn't know how good Holker was going to be. And now I look at him and I'm thinking, he's a big-time contributor. I don't want to put too much hype on him, but I'm saying the same things about him that I was saying about Matt Bushman at the end of fall camp. I'm like, this kid's going to contribute in a big, big way. He is a mismatch out on the field. And so the surprise when the depth chart came out, it's hard for me because I was at every single practice except for one. I saw those guys earn the spot, so I'm not surprised by the 2 deep. But if you asked me to take a 3-week look in the rearview mirror, what changed that I thought surprises me? Holker being as integral a part of the offense as he's going to be, and Al-Bakri being as integral a part of the defense as he's going to be. Outside of that, it's about what I thought.
All right, there are 2 parts to this next question for you, Blaine. And the first just deals with strictly Arizona and what type of Arizona team you expect to show up as they begin with a new head coach, Kevin Sumlin. And then the second part I want you to answer is, what's the biggest advantage BYU has against Kevin Sumlin's team in his first year?
So what do I expect out of them? This is a big transition because Mazzone, who's the offensive coordinator, they were really balanced and maybe even pass heavy at every place that he's been. And so now he comes to a team that he inherits that was a run-based football team. They were number 1 in the Pac-12 in rushing offense, number 3 in the country, and the worst passing offense in the Pac-12. So they were not balanced last year in any way, shape, or form, but they were a phenomenal run football team. If they're going to reach, if they want to compete for a Pac-12 South title and compete with USC and Utah, they have to have more balance. And so they're going to try to throw the ball more than they did last year. They rushed for 309 yards a game last year. Man. And they still have those same weapons, but what they don't have from that run-based offense last year are any of the returning starting 5 linemen, that at least not against BYU. Their center is coming back, who has experience. They got a veteran tackle, but they're both not playing in this game starting tonight. So BYU will face 5 guys on that offensive line that were not starters last year with very limited experience. And so I don't know that you can just load up and ride that offensive line and run at BYU, even though I'm wondering about that front 4. I think the first 4 are good, and I really like BYU's backers. So I'm looking to see if they can balance it out. If Arizona can balance it out and Tate can be a thrower, it will be interesting. I think that's a big challenge, especially early in the season. I'm really glad BYU's playing them in game 1 and not game 6 after these guys have a chance to figure things out. Because I really feel very confident about the coaching staff at Arizona. That's a really good staff.
Tanner Mangum, obviously, is the starting quarterback. What is realistic to expect from Tanner heading into game 1? And can he get back to the form we saw in 2015?
Well, I think he can. He's way trimmer. He's moving around better. And frankly, he has better weapons around him this year than he did last year when he was playing. So he wasn't playing healthy most of the year. We weren't real explosive with the weapons we had around him. And a quarterback loves really good tight ends. And we kind of discovered Matt Bushman as the season progressed last year. Well, he's got Moroni running around out there looking phenomenal. He's got Holker looking great. He's got Nwigwe, who's lost 15 or 20 pounds and is out catching balls and blocking. They can put 4 tight ends on the field at the same time. There's a mismatch someplace. Teams typically have one guy that can match up one-on-one on a tight end. BYU has Zane Anderson. Zane can run with the fastest tight end, and he's physical enough to play with the most physical tight end. We got one guy that can match up with an All-American caliber tight end, right? Really, really good teams maybe have 2, and Sione may be able to match up a little bit too. Most teams don't have more than 2, even if they're elite teams, even like Wisconsin and Washington. You put 4 of those guys out on the field at one time, which you can do, or 3 guys at a time, you can find a mismatch someplace. And now, if you get one-on-one coverage with an undersized guy or a guy that's big that they can run away with, you know if you put the ball in the right spot, you can throw a tight end open. So in his mind, he's got to be thinking, I got guys that I can go to, and he's got better playmakers on the outside. Dylan Colley's raised the level of all of the wide receiver group, and they got a good group of running backs. And I like this offensive line. Young, still need to prove themselves, but physically they look great. So I think he's going to be better just because he's got more weapons. And if he's smart, he goes in, and this is advice that Steve Young gives to quarterbacks. First thing is, don't lose the game. So go out and manage the game and distribute the ball. Don't go try to be the guy that wins the game. And I felt like last year there were times when Tanner felt like he had to go out and win the game. He doesn't need to do that this year. He needs to distribute the ball, run the offense, and I think he'll be successful.
Yeah, he told us specifically in an interview last week, or earlier this week, I should say, I just got to get the ball into my playmakers' hands.
And he's got way more of them. He's got way more of them.
Blaine, great stuff. Great insight into what BYU faces at Arizona. I know you've seen basically every practice. We'll be talking to you much more, including on Saturday, as you break down the game and count down to kickoff.
Countdown will be there. And you're up on the field, right?
I will be there. I will be in.
So between us, we'll go back and forth, you and me.
Yes, yes, we will.
Okay.
Blaine seems to know a lot about the football. He's very good at this. Great job, man.
Thanks, guys.